Good morning, Mr. Robertson. Good morning. Would you please state and spell your name for the record? Maurice Robinson. Maurice Robinson. And I notice you're in some kind of jumpsuit. Where are you currently located? Talbot County Jail. And why are you in jail? I got locked up last year. Did you? Were you convicted of a criminal offense? Did you plead guilty? Yes, sir. What did you plead guilty to? Possession of crack cocaine with intent to distribute. Have you entered into a plea agreement with the United States? Yes, sir. And are you testifying today pursuant to the terms of that plea agreement? Yes, sir. Other than that guilty plea, do you have a criminal record? Yes, sir. Will you please tell the jury about those convictions? Been convicted of possession of a firearm by a felon, sale and delivery, crack cocaine, racketeering, Hobbs Act robbery, and attempt with possession with attempt to sell and delivery crack cocaine. You stated that one of your convictions was racketeering. Is that right? Yes, sir. Did you plead guilty with respect to that conviction? Yes, I pled guilty. Did you cooperate with the government with respect to that conviction? Yes, sir. Mr. Robinson, I want to take a quick step back to your background. Where did you grow up? Monroe, Charlotte, and Gastonia area. You said Monroe, Charlotte, and Gastonia area? Yes, sir. Where did you spend your youth? Monroe. Monroe. Where did you live after Monroe? Charlotte. And after that? Gastonia. Have you been a North Carolina resident all of your life? Yes, sir. And how old are you right now? 28. You had mentioned that you have a conviction for racketeering. Was that with respect to your membership in a gang? Yes, sir. And what gang would that be? 9 Trey. That's 9 Trey Gangsters? Yes, sir. Is that also a part of the United Blood Nation? Yes, sir. When did you become a member of the 9 Trey Gangsters? 2004. And how did you become a member? I got jumped in. And what does that mean? Please explain that to the jurors. You gotta fight 3 or 5 members of the gang for 31 seconds. 31 seconds? Yes, sir. And where were you when you got jumped in and joined the 9 Trey Gangsters? Originally McDowell Detention Center. Were you in jail at that time? Yes, sir. And who recruited you? Other gang members. And why did you want to join at that time? I had a problem with the Crips at the time in the jail, so you joined the 9 Treys? Yes, sir. And you said it was 2004. How old were you at the time? 2004. I was like 13, 14 years old. Did you get a gang name? Yes, sir. What is that? They call me Rell or Ruger Rell. Rell, or what was the second name? Blue Rell. Ruger. Oh, Ruger. Yes, Your Honor. Why do UBN members have gang names? Well, objection, Your Honor. He didn't testify to that. But he hadn't laid a foundation. I'm sorry? He hadn't laid a foundation. There's been no testimony. Go back and lay a foundation. Do other UBN members have gang names like yours? Yes, sir. Why do they have gang names? To keep like citizen, normal people from knowing who we are and knowing our regular names. By normal people, what do you mean? Normal society, police, stuff like that. Is including the police, you said? Yes, sir. Do you have any gang-related tattoos? Yes, sir. Can you please describe them to the jury? I have Damu life. Damu. We'll stop after each one to make sure we understand it. You said Damu life? Yes, sir. What does Damu mean? Blood. What else do you have? 110% dog. What does that mean? It's 110%. Mentality is what we live by. And dog is the dog. We got dog paws, blood. So 110% dog. And I've got 5-point stars. 5-point star, you said? Yes, sir. Thank you. Anything else? I got MOB. What does that stand for, Mr. Robinson? Member of Blood. Thank you. And I got dog paws. And that's about it, sir. What are the dog paws? They left 3 dog paws representing the dog paw. 3 burns. 3 burns? What shape are those burns in? 2 on the bottom, 1 on the top. Is there a particular shape that they're in? Like a triangle shape. Circles? Yes, sir. Thank you. And do you hold any rank or positions within the 9 Trey Gangsters? Yes, sir. Please walk the jury through the various ranks and positions that you held. I started off as a foot soldier in 2004, and then around that time we was using Untitled Chapter in 2004, and then in 2008 I had 3-star, and then from 3-star I went to 5-star, 5-star to the low. And you said in 2004 your Bloods were an unofficial chapter? Yes, sir. Did they become an official chapter at some point? Yes, sir, in 2008. What does it mean to go from unofficial to official? We was in the North Carolina chapter in 2004, and in 2008 we got in a New York line. We got in a sanction line, a line that was approved from up top, the higher ranks. And who approves you? SI. Magoo sanctioned our hood in 2008. And where are they located? In New York. And you said what was your final position with the 9 Trey Gangsters? I was a low. What does that mean to be a low? Please describe. I was one of the highest ranked in North Carolina, but it's the 3rd highest rank in the gang. And what's above a low? A high, and then a GF. And approximately what year did you hold the rank of low? 2012. And at that time, who was above you? SI. What position was he? The GF. Was there a high above you at that time? No, sir. Were you aware of any North Carolina highs while you were a 9 Trey? Yes, sir. Who were they? G-Red and Omega. When was G-Red a high in North Carolina? From the beginning of 2012 to before I even came in, sir. And when was Omega a high in North Carolina? Omega, just before I came in also. I believe you stated that you became a 9 Trey member while you were in prison. Is that right? Yes, sir. Did you eventually get released from prison after that? Yes, sir. And did you remain a 9 Trey while you were outside prison? Yes, sir. And did you meet with and work with other 9 Trey gangsters outside of prison? Objection, Your Honor. Just to the leading. Well, rephrase it. You became a 9 Trey Gangsters member while you were in prison. Is that correct? Yes, sir. So would you see and associate with other 9 Trey Gangsters in prison? From while I was free? While you were in prison, were you associating with other 9 Trey Gangsters? Yes, sir. When you were released from prison, did you continue to associate with other 9 Trey Gangsters? Yes, sir. Did you associate with 9 Trey Gangsters that were out on the street, not in prison? That's the only thing I associated with when I was a gang member, sir. Both in prison and on the streets? Yes, sir. Thank you. And where did you operate as a member of the 9 Trey Gangsters? In Gastonia and Charlotte area. And approximately, to your knowledge, how many other 9 Trey Gangsters were there in Gastonia and Charlotte? Hundreds. Hundreds? Yes, sir. And were most of them above you or subordinate to you? Most of them were under me most of my time as a 9 Trey member. And were there any other lows in North Carolina while you were a 9 Trey gangster? Yes, sir. And who were they? KO, Bonds, B-Red, Black Montana, 730. Them were the ones who was mostly pushing that district. Approximately how many 5-star generals were there in North Carolina? There's a lot, sir. And 4-star generals? It's a lot. You assign members positions to hold down the ranking in their position and position in their rank. Are you familiar with the term lineup? Yes, sir. What is that? It's like a lineup, like, because I had the low and I had my own lineup, it would be whoever was up under me within the 5, the 4, and 3, and they fall within my lineup. They fall within my line. So is it fair to say there could be multiple lineups? Yes, sir. But are the lineups still 9 Trey Gangsters members? They all root back to the same, to one of the GFs. And what is the rank above a high? The GF. What does GF stand for? Godfather. And do you know the godfather of the 9 Trey Gangsters at the time? S.I. Magoo. And roughly what year were they the godfathers of the 9 Trey Gangsters? From 2012, from after I came in. And what do you know about this S.I.? S.I., he was the GF. That's who I was directly under. You were directly under S.I.? Yes, sir. Did you ever meet S.I.? Yes, sir. Where did you meet S.I.? I picked him up in 2012 when he was released from the feds. Where did you pick him up? At the bus station right down the road down here. Here in Charlotte? Yes, sir. Where was he from? New York. Why did he come to Charlotte? That's where he was on his way back to New York from the feds. He got released by the feds. That's where his bus laid over at. And by the feds, what do you mean? The federal system, the FBI. Federal, where he got time at. Federal prison? Yes, sir. And he stopped by Charlotte? Yes, sir. And why did you go meet with S.I. when he came to Charlotte? Because I was the highest rank in the Western District at the time, and I was told to make sure he was comfortable and had everything he needed. They were accommodating him while he was coming through Charlotte. And what did that mean to you to make sure he was comfortable and accommodated? Whatever he wanted, whatever he needed to make sure he got it, whatever he wanted to do while he was here, the little bit of time. Who told you to do that? It was a letter sent from Magoo. What, if anything, did you provide to S.I. when he visited? He really just wanted a little bit of money, and he wanted some weed to get the women or whatever. And what did you and S.I. do while S.I. was visiting Charlotte from New York? We just talked and built on the movement and what his plan was because he was free now, and how he wanted to take the movement, what direction he wanted to take the movement. How long did S.I. stay in Charlotte for? Like half a day. And do you know where he was headed? Back to New York. You made references to someone named Magoo. Who is that? That's the GF. Godfather? Yes, sir. And you said that the GFs were S.I. and Magoo? Yes, sir. Does that mean they shared the same rank? Yes, sir. Does that mean they shared the same power? Yes, sir. And what else do you know about Magoo? Just that's who we were looking up to in the Bloods. He was the highest rank when we came in, and he was the GF. He got the last say-so in the gang. Do you know where he was located? In New York prison. And you said when S.I. visited you, you were told to accommodate him and make him comfortable, and you said Magoo told you that? How did Magoo communicate that to you? Most of the time, the GFs or the higher ranks communicated with lower ranks through letters to the first ladies. What's a first lady? She's like a secretary to the lineup. And so you received a letter from Magoo? Yes, sir. And what did the letter say? It was really sent to Lady Kisses. No, Lady Quick. Lady Quick. Lady Quick. And sent to Lady Quick, and the letter was, S.I. was going to be on such and such day. It was, I want to say, April of 2012. It was around that time, around April or something like that, 2012. And he was going to be there on such and such day, and make sure I was there before he got there, and make sure he got everything he needed and wanted. And did you do that? Yes, sir. Why did you do that? Because it was my position. I was told from the higher rank, and it was my position to accommodate higher rank. Was it your understanding that if someone in higher rank told you to do something, you had to do it? Yes, sir. Objection, Your Honor. Leading. That was leading. Try not to lead in the future, please. Thank you, Your Honor. And I'm sorry if I asked this and I didn't hear the answer. Do you know where Magoo was located at that time? New York prison. Have you ever heard the name Frank White? Yes, sir. Who's that? When I was actually with Magoo, I was actually in the gang. He was a high then. He was a high, but he was real respected in the gang, though. And do you know where he was located? New York prison. Now, you say he was a high. Does that mean he had the same rank as the other highs you mentioned earlier, Omega and G-Red? Yes, sir. But he was located in New York? Yes, sir. Have you ever heard the name Uno B? Yes, sir. Who's that? Uno B. He had a high, too. I was actually in the lineup, and he was another well-respected. They highs, but they high real respected more than normal high. They got a lot of people. New York is bigger in the gang than North Carolina. Mm-hmm. So they hires hold higher than our highs. So is it your testimony in some ways a high like Frank White or Uno B is a different high than Omega? Yes, sir. They have more say-so. Even though they're the same rank, their say-so is going to be more. Are there particular rules to being a 9 Trey Gangsters? Yes, sir. It's rules to being a UBN member. 31 rules you must go by. And what are some of those rules? First one, no snitch. No snitch. Respect higher rank. Never deny homie a plate. Keep good hygiene. Take care of your community. Don't disrespect elders. A lot of stuff revolving around the community and higher rank and learn knowledge. Must know your knowledge. Let's go through some of those. What do you mean by learn knowledge? Whatever your oaths and pledges are and the rules, you got to know them by heart and be able to quote them and cite them whenever you get questioned by a higher rank. So there are oaths and pledges to being a UBN member in the 9 Trey Gangsters? Yes, sir. How do you learn those? Normally you get taught from a higher rank. They give them to you either written down. They're written down and you get a certain amount of days to learn them and recite and tell them without looking at them. You have to memorize them? Yes, sir. Does the same go for the rules? Yes, sir. The rules get written down and you have to memorize them? Yes, sir. I believe you mentioned a rule regarding a higher ranks. Respecting higher ranks, I think you may have said. Yes, sir. Can you tell the jury a bit about what those rules are regarding higher ranks and what do they mean? Just whatever higher rank says we must do. And just if you tell me to go in that corner, I gotta go in that corner, or it could be a violation that I didn't listen. Could there be a punishment for not following the orders of a higher rank? Yes, sir. And what could that be? It's DP. It stems from whatever the violation. If it's a minor violation, you can just get stripped of your rank or told not to talk to homie or a piece of your homie, all the way to getting killed. You use the phrase DP. What does that mean? Disciplinary. And what? And punishment? Yes, sir. I believe you said one of the rules was never to deny a homie a plate. Is that fair to say? Yes, sir. What does that mean? Like, the homies want to eat somebody and he got a legitimate reason. We can't deny him. We got to let him eat them. What do you mean by eat somebody? Beat him up, kill him, whatever you want to do to them. If you got a legitimate reason to do it, we got to let him do it. What would be a legitimate reason for someone wanting to kill somebody? Disrespecting the gang or me? Disrespecting me or the gang? And the rule says that you can't deny him his ability to do that? No, sir. You stated that if a higher-ranking member gives a lower-ranking member an order to do something, they have to do it. Yes, sir. Could that be anything? Anything. Could that be a crime? Yes, sir. Are there any financial obligations to being a member of the Bloods? Yeah, we got to pay dues every month to the higher ranks, which it mattered about your financial stability. It's either $93 or $31. And did you pay dues? Yes, sir. And did your fellow members pay dues? Yes, sir. Did your subordinates pay dues? People under you? Yes, sir. And who did you pay dues to? I paid dues to SI. And you paid your dues directly to SI? No, sir. It was given to my first lady, and my first lady would collect all the dues. Then she would mail them, or green dot them, or money order, or send them whatever they want them to send that month. You use money orders? Yes, sir. So you would send SI by sending it to somebody else? We would. Whatever SI, he might want it to be sent to his wife, his daughter, or he might want to send it to a homie in need that need it for that month. Sometimes he might want it himself. Are UBN members required to pay dues? Yes, sir. And you said you paid. You said you pay your dues to SI. Did everyone's dues go to SI, to your knowledge? No, sir. Where else did money go? At the time, it was either going to SI or Magoo. And do you know what UBN members did with the dues money? What they did with the UBN money? Yeah. I always thought it was a benefit to them, sir. Objection! Sir? Objection as to what he thought. If you have personal knowledge, then you can testify. If you're just guessing, then you can't answer the question. Yes, sir. I'll rephrase, Your Honor. Did all the dues money go to the leadership or some stay around at other levels of UBN? Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It was supposed to be used to bond people out, buy drugs, whatever benefited the gang, in any way benefited the gang. So to your knowledge, some of that dues money was used to buy drugs? Yes, sir. Plenty of times. And what would happen if a UBN member didn't pay their dues? DP. And in that context, what would DP mean? Most of the time we would put you in the ring and get jumped on. What do you mean by jumped on? We put like 3 or 5 homies for you for 31 seconds and beat you up. Beaten by 3 or 5 homies for not paying? Yes, sir. In order to satisfy the dues requirement, what would you, or to your knowledge, other UBN members in North Carolina do? I never worked until I came home this time, sir, but whatever I would do in the streets, sir, break crimes, steal, rob, sell drugs. To your knowledge, what do UBN members and 9 Trey Gangsters do to make money? Most of us are in the streets, so we get it at the streets, sir. What do you mean by that? Sell drugs, rob, steal, break in. And when you said most of us are in the streets, do you mean by that do Bloods have jobs? Some Bloods do hold jobs, sir. But to your knowledge, many do not? Yes, sir. And you did not? No, sir. I believe you stated that you sold drugs to make money? Yes, sir. Did any of your lower-ranking members sell drugs to make money? Yes, sir. Did any of the higher-ranking members, to your knowledge, sell drugs to make money? Yes, sir. To your knowledge, did Blood leaders in North Carolina sell drugs? Drug leaders? You mean my leader, the one over me, sir? Yes. For the time I was in, most of the homies over me were incarcerated, sir. Okay. Who, if anyone, taught you how to sell drugs? My big homie at the time taught me how to sell drugs. Whenever I was in the North Carolina chapter, he taught me how to sell drugs. What do you mean by big homie? The guy I was under. Another 9 Trey Gangsters? Yes, sir. What was his name? Free. Did you ever work with other UBN members or 9 Trey Gangsters to sell drugs? Yes, sir. Did you ever buy drugs from other UBN members in order to sell? Yes, sir. To your knowledge, what kind of drugs did you and other UBN members in North Carolina sell? I mostly always sold crack cocaine, but we would sell anything, sir. I've known homies to sell weed, crack, heroin, powder, everything. Pills. By powder, did you mean powder cocaine? Yes, sir. Did you ever sell heroin? Yes, sir. Did you ever rob to make money? Yes, sir. To your knowledge, did other 9 Trey Gangsters in North Carolina rob to make money? Yes, sir. Did you ever commit robberies with other UBN members? Yes, sir. Who, if anyone, taught you how to rob? I started robbing with higher ranks, but robbery is something you just go in there. They ain't really taught you. Okay, you robbing with higher ranking Blood members. Can you repeat that? Sorry, did you say you robbed with other higher level Blood members? Yes, sir. We talked a bit more about you mentioned First Ladies. What exactly is their role within UBN and 9 Trey Gangsters? They mostly deal with and control the paperwork and, meetings, make sure we know, like a secretary, sir. Okay, are they members? Yes, sir. Was there any special way that you and other UBN and 9 Trey Gangster members used to communicate with each other? I don't understand the question, sir. Were there any special words used between you and other UBN members? Oh, yes, sir. Yes, sir. Why do 9 Treys use special language like that? We got it. It's called lingo. And they keep from normal citizen, police, or whatever knowing, understanding what we saying. Is it a kind of code? Yes, sir. I'm going to ask you some terminology. If you know it, you know, please let me know what it is. If you don't know, that's fine as well. Are you familiar with BBA? Billy Badass. And what's that? It's the DNA to 9 Trey. And sir, I apologize, I have a gang tat. I have a tattoo on my arm. You have BBA? Yes, sir, I apologize. Is that associated with 9 Trey Gangsters specifically? Yes, sir. I got 9 Trey right beside it. And what, if anything, is a Billy? It's another code for 9 Trey. For 9 Trey specifically? Yes, sir. And is that as opposed to a different set of the UBN? Objection to leading, Your Honor. Can you rephrase that? Sure. Are there other sets of the UBN? Yes, sir. Can you provide an example to the jury of a set of the UBN not in the 9 Trey? GKB, which would be called Sonny. So if you're a 9 Trey gangster, strike that. So is Billy referred to a set like GKB? No, sir. Billy refers to 9 Trey specifically? Specifically. Thank you. What about DOA? DOA? Like, okay, I understand. Like, yes. Are you familiar with Ola? It's another word for blood, like Ola. What about emo? Another word for blood. And are you familiar with the term zip? Zip, to my terminology, would be like an ounce of some type of drug. And you used this word earlier, so I like to define it for the jury. What's up top mean? New York. New York the state, or something more specific than that? The New York that we refer to the big homies at, up there up top. We always refer to the big homies up top, New York. You used big homies before. The higher ranks, the GFs. Godfathers? Yes, sir. Are you familiar with the phrase dog food? Yes, sir. My terminology, it would be heroin or he dog food. He food to the gangs, to the blood. Are you familiar with the term hardback? Yes, sir. It's a disrespectful term to what we call the Crips. What's the general blood's view towards Crips? It's our enemy. They be on the opposite side of us. And what colors, if any, are the UBN and the 9 Trey Gangsters associated with? Red. So when you were a 9 Trey Gangsters, you wear red? Yes, sir. Does the 9 Trey Gangsters associate with any particular hand signals? Yes, sir. We got a sign to throw up 9 Trey. For the benefit of the jury, could you make this hand signal that you're talking about? Yes, sir. Could you describe it for the record? Yeah. Yeah, I see you are holding up your right hand. Your index finger is curved down. You're making a circle with your thumb, and your other 3 fingers are pointed upwards? Yes, sir. It's making a 9 and a 3. And you just described how your index finger and thumb makes a 9, and the other 3 fingers represent a 3? Yes, sir. And is the number 93 important to the 9 Trey Gangsters? Yes, sir. It was the year we started, and it's 9 Trey. Are you familiar with the term putting in work? Yes, sir. What does that mean to you? Whenever you gotta put in work, it's your time. Big homie tell you to go put in work, whether it be to eat food, someone violated the nation, or it could be a DP when you got to get in the ring and discipline someone. To be clear, what do you mean in the context when you mean eat food? Where somebody is violated to a point that they need to be killed or hurt real bad. And what does it mean to be on the plate? That you on the plate. You violated the 31 and no coming back. You food. You always food to the UBN. And who can label someone food? The higher rank has to. And if a higher rank labeled somebody food, what do you have to do? You gotta eat them. You gotta eat them when you see them. What happens if the higher rank labels somebody food and you don't eat them? You get ate too, and you get labeled food. So there are consequences to not carrying out eating food? Yes, sir. Are you familiar with the term sunstroke? No, sir. Are you familiar with the term baby love? Yes, sir. What does that mean? Money. What about Kitty? It's most of the time Kitty come from the dudes and it's just a pot of money. You mentioned earlier receiving a letter from Magoo instructing you to do something. Have you ever received other orders from higher-ranking members? Yes, sir. Plenty of them from North Carolina. For higher North Carolina big homie, but we only had one more from Magoo, and that was when Pretty Tony stuff was going on. So what kind of orders would you receive from your local North Carolina higher-ranking members? Whenever homies in other counties or other towns was out of order, we'd be sent to DP them or sent in to clean them up, whatever. Or whatever money was due, or call and give orders of feed homies with knowledge or feed homies with drugs, like help benefit other homies in different counties and cities with drugs. Do 9 Trey members have meetings? Yes, sir. Have you ever been to a meeting? Yes, sir. What happens at a 9 Trey meetings? Normally we go over what's been going on in your town, your city, and we organize. And if there's somebody in violation, we DP them. Is there any 9 Trey terms for meetings? 9/11 and powwow. Anything else happen at 9 Trey meetings? We just going over what's been going on in different districts, counties, or cities. Make sure dudes are getting paid, disciplinary. And most of the time, after they're over and all the business, hang out and have a good time, drink, smoke, whatever. You said dues are discussed at that meetings? Yes, sir. What about the dues? Making sure all the homies, because all the homies don't pay dues on time or pay them at all. We figure out who's been paying and who ain't been paying. Who ain't been paying, they get DP. They get disciplinary. What does DP mean in that context? The first 1 or 2 times you get beat up, jumped on for 31 seconds and violated. After that, you might get labeled fool, and it's whatever to the higher ranking. Most of the time, it'll be homie discretion what's going to happen from there. You might get 4th out. What do you mean by 4th out? I got 3 paws and 1. I get the 4th paw, I could never be blood again. I'm labeled fool. I'm fooled. You be branded? Yes, sir. What's the worst thing that you've ever seen happen to a member for not paying their dues? I seen homies get beat real bad. With my own eyes, I've seen homies get beat real bad. Have you ever seen someone get, you said, 4th pawed? Yes, sir. You've seen someone receive a 4th paw? Yes, sir. Do you recall what that was punishment for? We actually forfed the guy for denying eat food. Denying eat food, so we beat him and forfed him. You mentioned something about a meeting and the phrase Pretty Tony. What is Pretty Tony? It was another North Carolina set when we was in Untitled Chapter that was started by a guy named Chuck. This came along still, and where all the other sets got real right. They still fighting to be real right in the sanction hoods. What do you mean by real right? They're official. They're officially in the New York chapter of Blood. So when you first joined the Bloods in 2004, you said it was an unofficial group. Does that mean that it wasn't real right? Yes. In our eyes, we were real right, but we weren't. And you said you became official in 2008. Does that mean you were real right in 2008? Yes, sir, we became. Is it your testimony at the time Pretty Tony was not real right? To my knowledge, Pretty Tony has never been real right. Can you just explain what that means for Pretty Tony not to be real right? To us, the UBN, they're food to us. Why is that? They're not real right. We don't respect them and we don't get along with them. They're not blood in our eyes. You used the word official before describing sets. Are you saying they are official or unofficial? The Pretty Tony? Yes. Unofficial. And who, if anyone, can make them official? The GFs? At the time, who would that have been? SI, Magoo? And did you say that there was a meeting regarding Pretty Tony? Yes, sir. We had a meeting because we was in North Carolina. We was all out war with them. We were just going back and forth fighting them in the prison cell, fighting them in the prison system, and it was overflowing to the streets. It was getting out of hand. Other sets was getting involved. So the big homies told us to have a meeting, get all the big homies on the set for the war. So prior to this meeting, you were at war with Pretty Tony, you said? Yes, sir. And what does that mean to be at war with them? On site, 9 Trey because, and another thing, Pretty Tony we was in New York. We was North Carolina Bloods. They was under the 9 Trey banner of North Carolina. And so we felt disrespected. Once we got real right, they ain't with us. So we was at war with them. We was eating them every time we seen them. Beating them up, cutting them, stabbing, whatever. And did this occur, both you said both in prison and in the streets? It was overflowing to the streets at that time. The streets of North Carolina? Yes, sir. And you said there was a meeting about Pretty Tony. Approximately when did this meeting occur? The summer of 2011. And where was the meeting? In Richmond, Virginia. Did you go to the meeting? Yes, sir. Approximately how many 9 Treys went to the meeting? Between 40 or 60 of them. Some of the higher rank between North Carolina and Virginia. Some even came from New York. There are 9 Treys from other states, not just North Carolina? Yes, sir. What were the highest high-ranking member at that meeting? Red Rum and a guy named Stone. Who led the meeting? Red Rum and Stone. What was said at this meeting? It just was that 9 Trey was getting out of control, and they were like, get some control. We was going to get ate and labeled and lose all our rank, or we might take care. We was sent back from what we were told at the meeting, take care of higher rank, and they didn't want to hear about it again. Was the meeting hosted by any particular person? Say that again, sir. Was the meeting hosted by any particular person? I would say hosted. You mean who ran it? I would say Red Rum. Red Rum was really running it. And who instructed you to attend the meeting, if anyone? Magoo was the GF at the time. SI wasn't even communicating with us at the time. He was about to go home, so he wasn't communicating. Magoo was getting a lot of feedback. He was directing all the GFs. Not the GF, all the big homies. Did Magoo direct you to direct the meeting? Yes, sir. He directed all high rank. You said you weren't in communication with SI at the time of this meeting. Yes, sir. Why was that? SI was in federal custody and he was about to come home. He was on his downhill for coming home, so he wasn't really interacting with everybody the most. So we were going through Magoo. Why was he inactive at the time? He wasn't actually inactive. He just wasn't active. He wasn't hands-on. He wasn't dealing with us as much and wasn't communicating because he didn't want to get in trouble, get no kites sent to him and all that. What is a kite? A letter. And so let's walk through that meeting that you were just talking about. So you said Pretty Tony was discussed at that meeting. Yes, sir. Were you instructed to do anything with regards to Pretty Tony? To end the war by all means. It was to stop the fighting, to take it to another level, kill him. If they didn't want to flip, we were directed to kill him. What do you mean by flip? If they weren't going to lay down to Pretty Tony and flip the real right set, we had to get rid of him. What do you understand you had to do if you ever ran into a Pretty Tony after that meeting? I was going to have to kill him if they didn't want to flip. Were any other topics discussed at that meeting? Yes, sir. A lot of the homies was at the time was fighting the higher rank in North Carolina and trying to backbite each other going through the higher ranks. We viewed the command which was put in. We were supposed to do. Whoever your big homie was, that's who we were supposed to go through, the higher ranks. Really? Back to writing letters to higher ranks without permission and dues that wasn't getting paid. What was said about the dues at the meeting? That the dues had to start getting paid more often and more on time because a lot of people wasn't paying. Some of us was, some of us wasn't. So for the ones that wasn't, it was to beat. We had to affect more discipline to really get them to pay or get rid of them. What was your understanding of who wanted the dues from the discussion at the meeting? Objection, Your Honor. GF. The basis? Hearsay. If it's inside the conspiracy? Yes, Your Honor. This is a gang meeting. All right. You can answer. Yes, sir. The GFs wanted the dues to be paid on time, and because they were questioning why they wasn't getting paid, and we had so many people in our books in North Carolina, but that much money wasn't going up top. Up top to whom? The GFs. Who were they at the time? Sorry. Yes, I am Magoo. Were you aware of anyone being hurt as a result of the Pretty Tony War? Yes, sir. What do you know? Well, when we came back, after we came back and relayed the message to the prison system, it was an all-out war. A lot of stabbings went on in the prison, and I can't quote exactly, but it was either Unique or Blake was shot right here in Charlotte. He wanted the highest rank of Pretty Tony. He was shot right there in Charlotte, and it was just over the districts. And at the time, even my brother was Pretty Tony at the time, and me and him fell out. We don't see eye to eye. We weren't talking no more. You said from that meeting that you received an order to eat Pretty Tony outside if you saw them. Is that right? Yes, sir. Who did you understand that order to come from? That order to eat him would have came from Red Rum or Storm relaying, but it was the order to do away with the whole situation. Resolve the situation came from the higher ranking GFs. But the eat him and then sanction him came from Red Rum and Storm. Were there any punishments discussed at this meeting? Yes, sir. There was plenty of punishment. It was punishments. We punished a few homies who was either doing the backbiting or the higher ranks that didn't pay or wasn't paying dues. And then another one was later for his situation. Some homies sent in to deal with him personally. And what kind of punishments were given out? At the meeting? Yeah. It was only just beat. We just beat them up. What punishments happened after the meeting as a result of what happened at the meeting? One of the homies, they sent some homies in from Virginia and went and pistol whipped them. Took a lot of stuff. Relayed to from another homie, they put this baby in the microwave, but I heard it was a trash can. Objection to what he heard, Your Honor. Well, lack of personal knowledge. It depends on who the declarant is. Was it inside within the conspiracy? Yeah. Who did you hear that from? The statement. The blood members that was in my set, in my line from the set. All right. Objection overruled. Was anyone named Lady Red discussed at that meeting? Yes, sir. What was discussed? Lady Red, she was doing a lot of crooked stuff, a lot of messed up stuff around the time. She was going back and forth sets. She was flipping sets. She had all the sets knowledge. She was the first lady, actually, and she was getting the dues and wasn't sending them where they were supposed to be sent. She was doing a lot of stuff that wasn't sanctioned by the hood. She was labeled to be 8. They really wanted her dead, really wanted to kill her. To your knowledge, did anything end up happening to her? Yes, sir. What happened? Actually, some homies hurt her bad, and her car got blew up. A lot of stuff happened to her, sir. You mentioned a fellow gang member named Kato? Yes, sir. Who's that? Kato, around the time, me and him had the same rank. Mine was overseeing him a little bit, but he was a low. Was he present at that meeting you were just talking about? Yes, sir. And did anything happen to him at the meeting or after? After the meeting. He's the one family went in and beat up, and his baby was put in a trash can or the microwave. Do you have a breaking point, natural breaking point in your questioning? Yeah, right now. Ladies and gentlemen, let's take our morning break until 11:15. Mr. Robinson, you stated earlier one of the rules of the UBN and the 9 Trey was no snitching. Yes, sir. What does that mean, snitching? Cooperating with law enforcement. Are you allowed to tell a member of law enforcement that you're a member of the UBN? Not supposed to tell law enforcement. Do you know anyone by the name of 1090? Yes, sir. Who's that? 1090? He's out of Virginia. I can't recall what his rank was. It was either a low or 5. Was he a high-ranking member? Yes, sir. He was high-ranking. Yes. He was a 9 Trey as well? Yes, sir. Were you present at any meetings that 1090 was present at? Yes, sir. 1090 was in Virginia when we was in Virginia. At the meeting we were just talking about? Yes, sir. No further questions, Your Honor.